The casino floor of Nexus Station hummed with the electric tension of 1,000 different species trying to out-cheat each other. Neon lights painted the air in shades of purple and gold, while the constant chatter of universal translators created a symphony of barely controlled chaos. In the corner booth of the high-stakes section, Maya Chen sat perfectly still, her dark eyes tracking every movement around the holographic poker table. She looked harmless enough. 5 foot nothing, maybe 110 pounds soaking wet, with shoulder-length black hair that seemed to absorb the artificial light. Her clothes were simple, practical, nothing fancy, nothing that screamed danger. Just another human trying to make her way in the galaxy's seediest entertainment hub. The other players saw exactly what she wanted them to see. Prey. Another round, gentlemen. The dealer, a crystalline Vorthan with too many arms, shuffled the digital cards with practiced ease. The pot stands at 40,000 credits. Maya's fingers drummed once against the table's edge. A nervous habit, or so it appeared. In reality, she was calculating probabilities, reading micro-expressions and planning 3 moves ahead. Earth hadn't just been humanity's cradle. It had been their forge. Every day was a test of survival on that beautiful, deadly world. Every human who made it off-planet carried that crucible's lessons in their bones. I'll see your bet. The voice belonged to Korax, a 7-foot-tall Zolonian whose blue skin rippled with bioluminescent patterns. His 4 eyes never left Maya's face, searching for tells that simply weren't there. You know, little human, you've been unusually lucky tonight. Maya's smile was sweet as poison honey. Lucky? Sir, I prefer to think of it as skillfully observant. Korax's laugh rumbled like a landslide. Skillfully observant. How quaint. He leaned back in his chair, which groaned under his considerable bulk. You humans and your delusions of competence. Do you have any idea what world I'm from? Small one. Should I care? Maya's tone remained conversational, almost bored. Zirian Prime. The name dropped into the conversation like a lead weight. Several nearby players glanced over. Even the dealer's crystalline structure flickered with recognition. Perhaps that means something to your primitive little brain? Maya tilted her head, genuinely curious now. Can't say it does. Should it? Korax's bioluminescent patterns flared brighter. Zirian Prime, the forge world of the Zolonian Empire. Gravity 3 times your pathetic Earth standard. Atmosphere so toxic it would dissolve your lungs in minutes. Predators that would make your worst nightmares seem like children's toys. Sounds unpleasant, Maya observed mildly. Unpleasant? Korax's voice rose several octaves. I was born in pressure that would crush your bones to powder. I breathed poison gas before I took my first steps. By the time I was your age, I had killed 17 different apex predators with nothing but my bare hands. The casino had grown quieter. Other games slowed as beings turned to watch the spectacle. Maya could feel the weight of their attention, the electric anticipation of violence brewing. Perfect. That's very impressive, she said, her voice carrying just the right note of wide-eyed admiration. You must be incredibly strong. Strong. Korax stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow across half the table. Strong is an insult. I am a living weapon. A perfect killing machine forged in the deadliest environment in known space. Maya blinked slowly, like a sleepy cat. Oh my, that sounds absolutely terrifying. It should. Your species is nothing but soft flesh wrapped around brittle bones. You evolved on some gentle garden world, where the biggest threat was probably weather patterns. Korax's laugh was cruel now, meant to humiliate. I could break every bone in your pathetic body without even trying. Really? Maya's voice carried a note of innocent fascination. Every bone. Every single one. Your entire skeleton would be dust before you could even scream for help. Maya nodded thoughtfully. What about just one bone? You know, as a demonstration? The question caught Korax off guard. He blinked all 4 eyes in sequence. What? Well, if you're really that strong, surely you could demonstrate on just one small bone? Maybe something non-vital. Maya held up her right arm, wrist exposed. This one, perhaps? The casino held its breath. Even the background music seemed to fade. Korax stared down at the tiny human female who had just offered him her arm like it was a party favor. You cannot be serious. Dead serious. Maya's smile widened. Unless, of course, you were just boasting? I mean, that would be understandable. Sometimes we all exaggerate our capabilities when we're trying to impress people. Korax's bioluminescent patterns turned angry red. Boasting? Boasting? You dare suggest that I, a warrior of Zirian Prime, would lie about my strength? Oh, I would never suggest anything so rude, Maya replied sweetly. I'm simply offering you a chance to prove your claims. After all, actions speak louder than words, don't they? The Zolonian's massive hands clenched into fists. Around the casino, credits began changing hands as spectators placed quick bets on outcome. Most of the money was going on how long it would take Maya to start screaming. You want proof? Korax's voice had dropped to a deadly growl. Fine, I will give you proof. But don't blame me when you spend the rest of your short life with a crippled arm. Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. Maya stood up slowly, gracefully, like a dancer taking the stage. But perhaps we should make this interesting. A little wager between new friends. What kind of wager? Simple. If you can break a bone in my arm, I'll forfeit the entire pot to you. 40,000 credits, free and clear. Maya's voice carried easily across the suddenly silent casino. But if you can't manage it, you pay me double the pot and admit that you're nothing but a loud-mouthed bully who picks on people smaller than himself. The collective intake of breath from the crowd was audible. 80,000 credits was serious money, even on Nexus Station. Korax's bioluminescent patterns cycled rapidly through several colors as he processed the implications. You are insane, he said finally. Maybe, Maya agreed cheerfully. But I'm also very, very confident. So, what do you say, warrior of Zirian Prime? Ready to put your money where your mouth is? Korax looked around the casino. Every eye was on him. Every being present would remember this moment. If he backed down now, his reputation would be ruined. But if he accepted and somehow failed, the thought was impossible. She was human. Last chance to surrender. Korax said, Once I apply pressure, there'll be no going back. Oh, I'm counting on it, Maya replied. Her voice was steady, almost bored, though I should probably mention something before you start. What? Maya's smile turned predatory. You asked what world I was from. The answer is Earth, but you made a rather significant error in your assumptions about my home planet. Korax's grip tightened slightly. What error? You called it Garden World. Soft, gentle, the kind of place where the weather was the biggest threat. Maya's dark eyes locked onto his. That's not entirely accurate. Impossible. Human worlds are classified as Class M habitable, peaceful, safe. Earth is classified as Class M habitable, Maya corrected, but it's also classified as something else. Something your research apparently missed. What? Maya's smile widened, showing far too many teeth. Earth is a Class XI Deathworld, the single most dangerous inhabited planet in known space. A world where literally everything, from the smallest bacteria to the largest predators, has evolved specifically to kill, where the weather patterns include storms that can level cities, where the ground itself can open up and swallow mountains, where the water is filled with creatures that view everything else as food. Korax's bioluminescent patterns flickered uncertainly. That's impossible. Humans are weak. Fragile. Weak. Maya laughed, and the sound was like breaking glass. Fragile? Let me tell you about fragile Korax of Zirian Prime. On Earth, we have creatures called honey badgers. They weigh maybe 30 pounds. They regularly kill and eat venomous snakes that could kill a dozen Zolonians. We have fish that generate enough electricity to stop a human heart. We have spiders whose venom dissolves tissue from the inside out. We have plants that can kill you just by touching them. The casino had gone completely silent. Even the background machinery seemed to have stopped humming. But here's the really interesting part. Maya continued conversationally. Humans didn't just survive on this death world. We thrived. We became the apex predator on a planet specifically designed to kill apex predators. Do you know how we managed that, Korax? The Zolonian's grip had unconsciously loosened. How? We didn't evolve bigger muscles or thicker skin or natural weapons. We evolved something much more dangerous. Maya's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried across the entire casino. We evolved brains, and patience, and the ability to plan revenge against anything stupid enough to threaten us. Korax's four eyes widened as the implication sank in. You see, Korax, when something on Earth decides to hurt a human, we don't just offend ourselves. We study our enemy. We learn their weaknesses. We plan their destruction. And then we implement that plan with a kind of methodical precision that only comes from living on a world where anything less than perfection means death. Maya's smile was no longer remotely human. So please, by all means, try to break my arm. I've been looking forward to this educational demonstration. Korax tried to let go. He really did. But somehow, his hand wouldn't release its grip. Maya's small fingers had locked around his wrist like a mechanical clamp. What are you doing? Teaching you about Earth physics. Maya said pleasantly. You see, when you live on a Deathworld, you learn some very interesting things about leverage and pressure points, and exactly how much force is required to snap different types of bones. The first crack was barely audible. Korax's bioluminescent patterns flared bright yellow, the Zolonian equivalent of a scream. For instance, Maya continued, her grip tightening imperceptibly. Did you know that Zolonian bone structure is actually quite similar to that of Earth birds? Hollow in places to reduce weight under your planet's heavy gravity. Another crack, louder this time. Korax tried to pull away, but Maya's grip was unbreakable. The fascinating thing about hollow bones, Maya mused, is that they're actually quite fragile when pressure's applied from the right angle. The final crack wasn't subtle at all. It echoed across the silent casino like a gunshot. Korax's arm bent at an angle that was definitely not natural, and this time his scream was definitely audible. Maya released her grip and stepped back, dusting off her hands with theatrical satisfaction. There we go, she said brightly. One broken arm, as requested. Though I have to say, for a warrior forged in the deadliest environment in known space, you certainly scream like a little girl. Korax collapsed to his knees, cradling his mangled arm against his chest. His bioluminescent patterns had shifted to a sickly pale green, cycling rapidly between shock and agony. The massive Zolonian warrior, who a moment ago had been boasting about his incredible strength, now looked like nothing more than a wounded animal. Maya walked around him slowly, her movements casual and unhurried. She picked up her drink from the table and took a delicate sip, as if breaking alien arms was just another Tuesday evening activity. You know what I find truly fascinating about bullies? She asked the silent casino. They always assume that size equals strength. That loud equals dangerous. That fear equals respect. She paused directly in front of Korax, who was still whimpering and trying to cradle his destroyed limb. But here's the thing about humans, and especially humans from Deathworlds. We learned very early in our evolution that the most dangerous predators aren't always the biggest ones. The crowd pressed closer, sensing that this was far from over. Credits continued changing hands, though the betting odds had shifted dramatically in Maya's favor. Take sharks, for instance, Maya continued, her voice carrying easily across the hushed casino. Apex predators that ruled Earth's oceans for millions of years. Perfectly designed killing machines with rows of razor-sharp teeth and bite forces that could crush steel. She crouched down next to Korax, her voice dropping to a conversational whisper that somehow everyone could still hear. But do you know what kills more humans than sharks every year? Mosquitoes. Tiny little insects that weigh practically nothing. They kill millions of us annually through disease transmission. Korax looked up at her with pain-filled eyes. What do you want? What do I want? Maya's laugh was bright and cheerful. Oh, I don't want anything from you, specifically. You're just a teaching aid at this point. A visual demonstration for everyone else in this room. She stood up and addressed the crowd directly. You see, friends, our large blue friend here made several critical errors tonight. First, he assumed that humans were weak because we come from what he thought was a garden world. Second, he threatened me without doing any actual research about my species. And third, and this is a real important one, He forgot the golden rule of dealing with apex predators. What rule? The question came from somewhere in the crowd. Maya couldn't see who asked it, but she smiled anyway. Never corner something that has nothing. Maya walked back to the poker table and began collecting her winnings. 40,000 credits in chips made a satisfying clicking sound as she stacked them neatly. But I'm getting ahead of myself, she continued. Let me tell you about my childhood, since our friend Korax was so interested in comparative planetary development. The casino manager, a nervous-looking Tyrillian with too many tentacles, started moving toward the commotion. Maya caught his eye and shook her head slightly. He stopped moving, apparently deciding that discretion was the better part of valor. I grew up in a place called Australia, Maya said. Even by Earth standards, Australia is considered somewhat excessive in terms of things that want to kill you. We have spiders there whose bite causes necrosis, flesh-eating bacteria in the water, snakes so venomous that one bite contains enough poison to kill 100 adult humans, jellyfish that can stop your heart with a single sting. She paused to take another sip of her drink. Oh, and crocodiles. Ancient predators that haven't needed to evolve for millions of years because they were already perfect killing machines. 20 feet long, armor-plated, with bite forces measured in tons per square inch. Korax was trying to stand up, his good arm pressed against a nearby chair for support. Maya watched him with mild interest, like a scientist observing a particularly slow experiment. But here's the really fun part about growing up in Australia, she continued. By the time you're 10 years old, you've learned to identify and avoid roughly 300 different ways to die horribly. By 15, you've probably survived encounters with at least a dozen of them. By 20, you've developed what we call situational awareness. She gestured around the casino. For instance, right now, I can tell you exactly how many exits there are from this room. I know which beings in this crowd are armed and what kind of weapons they're carrying. I know that the Vorthan dealer has a neural disruptor hidden in his third arm socket, and I know that the casino manager has already alerted station security. Several beings in the crowd shifted nervously. The Vorthan dealer's crystalline structure actually cracked slightly. More importantly, Maya continued, I know that our friend Korax here isn't actually injured as badly as he's pretending to be. Zolonian physiology includes redundant bone structures and accelerated healing factors. His R will be functional again within hours. Korax's bioluminescent patterns flared briefly. Busted. Which brings us to the second part of tonight's educational demonstration, Maya announced cheerfully, the part where we discussed the concept of proportional response. She walked over to where Korax was still hunched over his supposedly crippled arm. You see, on Deathworld, there's an important survival principle. When something threatens you, you don't just neutralize the immediate threat. You make sure that thing never threatens you again. And you do it in a way that discourages other potential threats from making the same mistake. Maya grabbed Korax by his good arm and hauled him to his feet with surprising strength. The 7-foot alien found himself standing upright despite his considerable size advantage. The thing is, Korax, you didn't just threaten me tonight. You threatened my entire species. You called humans weak and fragile and primitive. You suggested that any member of your race could easily kill any member of mine. Her grip tightened on his arm. Not enough to cause damage, but enough to make her point clear. That kind of attitude spreads. Other species hear it and start to believe it. Pretty soon, every human in the galaxy becomes a target for any alien who wants to feel tough. And that, my large blue friend, is completely unacceptable. Maya's voice had dropped to a whisper, but somehow it carried more menace than Korax's earlier shouting had. So now I have to make sure that you, personally, never make that mistake again. And I have to do it in front of witnesses, so that everyone else gets the message loud and clear. She released his arm and stepped back. I want you to hit me. The request caught everyone off guard. Korax blinked all 4 eyes in sequence. What? Hit me? Take your best shot. Use your good arm. Put everything you got behind it. Show everyone in this room just how strong Zolonians really are compared to weak, fragile humans. The crowd buzzed with anticipation. This was getting interesting. Korax hesitated. I do not wish to seriously injure you. Maya's laugh was sharp and cold. Oh, don't worry about that. Trust me, you won't. But if I hit you with full force, I could kill you. Could you? Maya's smile was all teeth. Are you absolutely certain about that? Because a few minutes ago, you were absolutely certain that you could break my arm. How did that work out for you? The big alien looked around the casino desperately, as if hoping someone would intervene. No one moved. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Hit me, Korax, Maya repeated. Or admit in front of everyone here that you're too scared of a 110-pound human female to throw a punch. That did it. Korax's bioluminescent patterns flared angry red, and his massive fist came around in a haymaker that would have taken a normal person's head clean off their shoulders. Maya wasn't there when it arrived. She had moved maybe 6 inches to the left, but somehow the punch missed her completely. Korax stumbled forward, off balance from his own momentum, and Maya was suddenly behind him. Lesson number 1, she said conversationally. Speed beats strength every time. Her elbow connected with the back of Korax's knee, and the massive alien crashed to the floor like a felled tree. Lesson number 2, leverage beats mass. Before Korax could recover, Maya had somehow gotten him into a submission hold that left him face down on the casino floor with his good arm twisted behind his back at a very uncomfortable angle. Lesson number 3, knowledge beats brute force. She applied just enough pressure to make Korax gasp in pain. Not enough to cause permanent damage, but definitely enough to get his attention. And lesson number 4, Maya concluded, never, ever underestimate a species that evolved on a planet specifically designed to kill them. Because we didn't survive by being the strongest or the fastest or the most naturally dangerous. We survived by being smarter, more adaptable, and absolutely ruthless when cornered. She released the hold and stood up, leaving Korax gasping on the floor. Now then, I believe you owe me 80,000 credits and a public apology. Korax struggled to his hands and knees, his bioluminescent patterns cycling through what could only be described as embarrassment. I apologize. To you and to your species. I was wrong to underestimate humans. Louder, Maya suggested pleasantly. I don't think everyone heard you. I apologize. Korax's voice carried across the entire casino. Humans are... The crowd began to disperse, conversations buzzing with excitement. The story would spread throughout the station within hours, and beyond that within days. Maya had just become the most famous human in 3 sectors. The casino manager approached cautiously. Miss Chen, I trust there won't be any further demonstrations tonight. Oh, I certainly hope not, Maya replied sweetly. I was just playing poker. It's not my fault if other patrons want to turn it into a learning experience. She finished collecting her chips and stood up, though I have to say, this has been far more educational than I expected. I should probably find a different game now. Something a bit more challenging. As she walked toward the cashier station, Korax called out from behind her. Wait! Maya turned back. Yes! What you said about humans being apex predators, how much of that was true? Maya's smile was genuinely warm for the first time all evening. Oh, that wasn't the scary part, Korax. The scary part is what I didn't tell you, which was... Humans don't just adapt to survive on Deathworlds. We terraform them. We take planets that are completely uninhabitable and we make them into homes. We don't run away from dangerous environments. Maya's eyes glittered in the casino's neon light. We conquer them, and then we get bored and go looking for new challenges. She turned and walked away, leaving Korax and the rest of the casino to contemplate that particular revelation. Outside in the corridor, Maya allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. It had been a good evening. She'd made some decent money, taught an important lesson about respecting humans, and provided entertainment for a few hundred beings who would spread the story far and wide. But most importantly, she reminded the galaxy of something that too many species seem to forget. Humans didn't climb to the top of Earth's food chain by accident, and they hadn't stopped climbing just because they'd left their home planet behind. The message would spread. Other species would hear it and remember it. And maybe, just maybe, the next human who found themselves outnumbered and outgunned in some distant corner of the galaxy would find that their reputation had preceded them. After all, that's what apex predators did for each other. They looked out for the pack. Maya Chen, daughter of Earth, child of the deadliest world in known space, walked into the neon-lit night of Nexus Station and began planning her next move. The galaxy was full of bullies who needed educating, and Maya was a very good teacher.